Well, hello everyone, and thank you all for joining us. We're very grateful for you taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us this morning for the sake of this webinar. My name is Liam Souter. I'm the online editor for hrgrapevine.com, and I have the pleasure of introducing today's session and making sure things run smoothly, both for our speakers and for you, the audience, as well. As you'll already be aware, this webinar is all about employee engagement and specifically about 5 winning factors for thriving employee engagement. And leading today's presentation, we've got a duo of experts from WinningTemp, which is an organisation that provides revolutionary solutions to help managers and leaders measure and improve the well-being of their entire organisation. Before I introduce you to today's speakers, I will just run through some of our usual housekeeping details. So to the right-hand side of your screen, there is a Q&A box. You can submit questions at any time during the presentation today, and please do. We are always really appreciative when the audience gets involved, and we'll aim to answer those questions towards the end of the session this morning. We're also going to be running a few polls during the webinar, and again, we'd love you to submit your answers when those polls are launched, and we'd really appreciate your feedback on those talking points. And finally, this session is also going to be available to replay on demand shortly after the live session ends. So if there are any points that you want to go back over, you absolutely can do so. So now on to today's talent. So we're joined by WinningTemp's engagement lead, Amanda Sletton, and their head of international, Carl Jacobson. I'm going to hand over to the pair of them now to introduce themselves and their roles with WinningTemp a bit further, and then we'll dive straight into today's webinar. So I hope you all enjoy it. We'll come to Amanda first, because you're first on my screen.
Yes, thank you, Liam, and good to see so many in this webinar. My name is Amanda, just as Liam said, working as engagement lead here at WinningTemp, meaning that I spend most of my time guiding and helping management teams and manager to increase their engagement and to strengthen their leadership. And Carl, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, why not? And it works now, the sound.
It does.
Yes, so my name is Carl. I lead our international expansion with one of my foots, and the other one is supporting Amanda in the industry of creating better environments for our customers in relation to leadership development and coaching management teams and such to become more effective in their way of working with employee engagement. We are based in 2 different locations, and we're not seeing you, and usually we have a lot of face-to-face meetings with management team and big groups of managers. So as Liam said, please, if you have any questions, throw them into the Q&A, the chat, and we will try to answer them as we go. Before we get going, Lou Holtz was a very successful football coach for the Notre Dame football team. This is in Indiana, around close to Lake Michigan. And during 11 years, he had one mantra that he reminded his athletes or students about. He wanted them to tell themselves 35 times a day, what's important now? WYN. When they woke up in school, in the training field, on the sideline, in front of games, he wanted them to think about what's important now. And another famous coach called Bob Bowman that coached and trained one of the world's greatest athletes, Michael Phelps, have also used this mantra. So Michael Phelps, as you know, was one of the most famous and successful athletes, but he had some difficulties with his mental health during his career. So Bowman was very demanding and wanted to help and support him with this. So one time when Michael came out from a training session into the dressing room, all his gears and clothes were gone. And he asked Bob, where's all my clothes? And Bob said, Michael, I don't know. Where are they? Michael had to walk home in his pants and handle that situation and train on this. Another time, Bob took his swim glasses and threw them on the floor and stamped at them. So when Michael didn't know, he took them on, threw himself into the water, And as he started to swim, he realized that they were leaking water. And he asked Bob, like, what has happened? My gear's not working. I can't see. And Bob said, well, Michael, what's important now then? How can you solve this situation? Because this can happen during a race as well. So this is how he helped him to focus on what's important now. To finalize that story, in the end of Michael Phelps' career, he was standing on one of the late Olympics, and it was a final. He was there with his 7 competitors, and the starting signal went off, and he threw himself into the water, and he dropped his gear, his sunglasses, not his swim glasses. But he was so focused, and he had trained so hard on this, so he could, by instinct, just without opening his eyes, take swim stroke by swim stroke, count them until he was turning at the end of the pool and go back. And when he came, he hit the finish line, and he went up and he won the race and took his last Olympic gold medal. So why am I telling you this story? Yes, because what's important now for us every day is to help people to forever change how they can succeed together. That's the vision we are working with. And now it's about engagement levels. So me and Amanda is working every day with trying to inspire or coach to be better at engagement in organizations. And we are really humble and happy that you have chosen to be here. I saw yesterday evening that Simon Sinek actually posted on LinkedIn that his business is starting a development course related to organizational culture and increasing the ability to succeed with employee engagement. So with that said, let's move on. And
with that said, just 2 pictures of us, and we're from Winnington, as you understood by now. For some of you, Winnington might be something you have heard about, and for some of you, it might be completely new. So before we start digging into employee engagement, we will just shortly give you an explanation and presentation of what Winnington is. So please, Carl.
Yes, thanks. So just to put this into context, and it's not, as Amanda said, what we will talk to you about today, but the background, we have developed an employee engagement service that we have brought out to the world, at least the parts of the world that have been interesting and engaging with us. And with the help and support of the University of Gothenburg and scientists at the university that are famous for areas such as innovation, social environments, and so on, they've helped us to look at the research and see what are the biggest and most important factor if we want to succeed with our employee engagement levels, and of course improve things such as productivity, increase engagement, keep people at work, and these kind of things. So it's a software that enables companies to understand more through collecting data about these different factors.
And we are trusted by 1,500 companies that we found across 30 countries. And on the map, you see some of the brands and companies that we collaborate with. But with that said, today's session is about employee engagement. And we will talk about winning factors for increasing the engagement in your organizations. So how does it look at the moment? If we're talking about increasing the levels, you might wonder, okay, but how is the engagement levels right now? And there's plenty of research connecting to employee engagement, but we have chosen a study made by Gallup. And here on the screen to the right, you see the engagement levels from the year of 2000 to 2022. So first, let's focus on the bottom line, the dark blue one, showing the global employee engagement levels. As you see, it has been increasing the last couple of years, but we are on quite low levels. We see that in 2022, 23% of the employees are engaged globally. If we look at the line at the top, the light blue one, we have best practice organizations, and they have a level of 72% engaged employees. So what we see here is that we sure can develop. We can all be a bit better when it comes to employee engagement. And that is why we have looked into both research and our own Winnington data, millions of data points, to see if we can understand how we can increase these levels and give those tips and advice to you so that you can work with your employee engagement. And hopefully more companies can reach levels of 70 or more %. So Carl, will you guide us through how we did the study?
Yes, Amanda, I will shortly mention that. So as mentioned previously, we have a software that helps gathering a lot of information from employees and the different aspects of the employees. They're based on 9 categories, and they're 65 critical factors that we have looked into, and during a lot of years now gathered a lot of information about that. And if you want to have a successful employee engagement strategy, you need to succeed with at least a few of these. And after collecting these data points for now many years, we really wanted to dig in a bit deeper on the correlation between high engagement and what the factors were, what the data was showing. So we know what the research says, but we wanted to do that combination and correlation of real-time data that we have here and now, but also have gathered during the years. So what correlations could we see? What was the most important factors to focus on if you want high engagement? And what is the wins if you succeed with that? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We went back to the University of Gothenburg with our data. We wanted external parts to really dig into that as well and see the correlation from their end and relate that to the science. So that's pretty much how we have done that. There is also a specific report related to that I think you can take a look at in a later stage if you would like to. But now we have a poll, don't we, that we will send out. So yes, so good. That's a good slide. So
yeah, perfect timing for that. So we just launched the first poll of today's session, which is relating to turnover, and we want to know from you which categories do you believe have the strongest impact on turnover. As you can see, the options there: meaningfulness, participation, person to job fit, trust, job satisfaction, commitment, leadership, participation, and team spirit. We've got a few responses coming in already, so I'll just give it a few more seconds for people to get involved with the poll there. So far, most people are saying leadership has the biggest impact on turnover. That's roughly sort of 50% of the audience are saying that that's the biggest thing so far. That's closely followed then by job satisfaction as well, having the biggest impact on turnover. And quite a few people are saying meaningfulness as well, but so far the results are mostly saying leadership is the largest issue, closely followed by job satisfaction. So far, no one is saying issues with team spirit or participation and that sort of thing. So it seems like we have a clear picture emerging that leadership and satisfaction within the role for employees are the biggest issues there for the biggest impact on turnover. So yeah, keen to hear your thoughts on the results of that poll.
Good. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Liam. We will reveal the findings we have, and this is our data, of course. So it's worth mentioning that we didn't really want to ask you, because we saw in the participants that there is a lot of expertise within HR, and you have a lot of experience and knowledge within this area. So it's really interesting for us to also take the opportunity to learn and get your thoughts and ideas. And what we will present is the impact on turnover is related to a study that we have done and a report that we will share with you that participate in this webinar. After the webinars, we will send you that report with the impact on turnover. And this is the correlation of what affects turnover the most. And this is also in the same way we have looked at in correlation due to high engagement. So if you have succeeding with having a really high engaged workforce, what are the other things we can see that works well in that organization where you are, what you succeed with. Amanda, should we share the findings?
Yes.
I heard leadership, meaningfulness up in the top. Leadership, yes, absolutely, it's there. And if in one way, it's the backbone of everything. So the leaders need to be able to drive things like trust, job satisfaction, meaningfulness, and these kind of things. We'll share this with you. Did you say, Liam, that job satisfaction wasn't on the...
Job satisfaction was quite high, I
Job
believe.
satisfaction was one of the highest.
Yeah.
It was the
I was highest. Good.
Yeah.
I heard something that wasn't up there, but okay, great to see that you are as good as this as we are. Good. Should we, after this, we are about to reveal and talk about these 5 winning factors, success factors that we have found in our data to thrive employee engagement. So should we go into that, Amanda?
We should. So now we will present the 5 winning ways in leadership, with focus, of course, on increasing engagement. So we will both share some research and insights from our own Winnington data, and of course, some practical steps that you can implement quite immediately, actually, to foster an engaged workforce. So let's start with the first one, and that was on the top on the previous slide, connecting to meaningfulness. Make work meaningful. So what is meaningfulness at work? Well, in most cases, it's about having a job that is more than just paying the bills. It means that your employees have a feeling that they're doing something meaningful, that their job connects with their own values, interests, that they feel fulfilled and valuable at work. The difficult part with meaningfulness, I must say, is that it varies quite greatly from person to person. And studies shows that individual, job, organizational, societal factors all contribute to how people find and connect to a sense of meaning. And in relation to meaningfulness, there is a quite well-known story when the US President John F. Kennedy visited the NASA Space Center in 1962. And during his visit, he noticed a janitor carrying a broom. He interrupted his tour, asked the man with the broom, "What are you doing?" And the janitor said, "Well, Mr. President, I'm helping to put a man on the moon." To most people, he was just cleaning the floor. But from his perspective, he was helping to put a man on the moon, to create history. So with this said, meaningfulness is also a mindset and an attitude. And here, you listening, being managers, you have an important role in helping your employees to create and inspire them so that they see that they are part of something bigger, that they all contribute to something more than just doing their job. And why do we need meaningfulness at work? Well, research shows that employees who experience their work as meaningful, they perform better, they have higher creativity, it flavors internal knowledge, we see more satisfied customers, high motivation, satisfaction, they feel better, and they want to stay. And to the right, you see a picture from our own research, the report that we will share with you after the session called Fighting Turnover. And in our data, we see that millennials are 3 times more likely to quit than other generations if they do not find their job meaningful. So how to create meaningfulness? Well, Carl, I believe you have something to share.
Yes, so we would like to share, as Amanda said, the data and the why it's important, but also something you can take with you. So this is one thing that we have worked with. It's about instinct motivation. So finding the motivation factors inside of you and not the external factors. So we have worked in both in Winnington. This was something brought into the company by our founder and acting CEO that we have worked with for many years. And it's about creating a vision board. It's a helpful tool that can help you to create clarity on the goals, the achievements you want to have in your life, and bring awareness to what matters most to you on the workplace, but also in your entire life. So this is an example of vision board. I think the top left or the bottom left one is from our HR manager, and the bottom right one is from our head of content in the marketing team. So how we have done them is to really use images, words, symbols that inspire and motivates you. So when you look at them, they trigger positive emotions in yourself. Talk about find your strengths, your areas of improvement, and all these focused goals you want to achieve, short term or long term. And then you use this to inspire yourself, but also to share your own vision and connect that to the company vision, and also, of course, with building relationships. So Amanda, we have a colleague that just bought a house, and I remember we were sitting with her, or at least I was, a couple of years ago, and she had on her vision board to buy a house with her husband and kids, and she did this year, and she moved into it, and that's a fantastic example that she could share that sort of dream or goal she had a couple of years ago, and we can. With the sort of that knowledge, when we're meeting her at the coffee machine, we can talk not just about the next customer meeting or work project that needs to be done and delivered, but also how that works for her. Where are they? And I was so happy when she shared that they have bought her house or their house. So we can send you more information about that. It's a thing that we have shared with a lot of companies as well, and they have implemented this in either the entire company or in teams. Going forward.
Yes, and this was the first winning way, and now we're going to share the second one. And that one is communicate a lot. So, of course, in relation to communication. And probably not a surprise to you listening that communication is important when it comes to creating engagement. But we see quite clear in our own Winnington data that questions that we measure, that measures communication, feedback, information, they have a great impact on the levels of engagement. And there are some good benefits, of course, with good communication. And we see that it increases commitment and sense of community. It contributes to building a healthy organizational culture. And we see that it reduces the number of conflicts and strengthens cooperation. And communication, as you might know, is the process of sending and receiving messages, either through text or verbal or non-verbal means. So it's not just what you say, it's also, of course, how you say it. I'm talking about body language, eye contact, tone, etc. So many factors influence your communication. So sometimes, of course, communication is a bit difficult and challenging, especially now when many of us work remotely, or you might have colleagues in other countries. and you do not meet every day, or you might meet each other, but then via Zoom or Teams, like this webinar, and you only see the head of the one you're talking to. So of course that complicates your communication, and it might be sometimes a bit harder to communicate a message. The good thing though is that communication is a skill. So it's something you can develop, you can train, you can improve. And we will actually share a model connecting to coaching that you can use if you want to improve your communication skills. So
Yes.
Carl, please.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. I just want also to mention the communicate a lot is not the same as inform a lot. And we took we read some kind of study, me and Amanda. It's a while ago, so maybe you need to refresh me here. But it was quite clear with companies that informed a lot without giving the ability to communicate back, ask questions. It had the opposite effect of increasing engagement. So some people think that if we just inform and we have the intranet or wherever, that's enough, but it's not. It can have the opposite effect. So take that with you. It's about communication, giving the receiver the potential to actually feedback and reply with questions and have a dialogue. So model, yeah, we wanted to share something here as well. So there's a lot of models related to communication, and you probably have them already. But we have we've taken the sort of feed forward model on coaching individuals, coaching employees, or coaching managers, and we throw in some strength-based approach to it. So we work with Appreciate Inquiry, a strength-based method in Winning Temp, and also when we coach our customers. And we want to increase the focus on strengths. Many companies want to see some behavioral changes, and we all know that it's easier to have that effect if you do that by a strength-based model. So this is a quite straightforward coaching model. Please take it with you, try it on someone at home or at work, or give it to someone that are eager to learn and want to explore new things. So find your dream scenario. What's the current situation? And here comes the strengths-based one. So what strengths can you use to reach that scenario, the desired scenario or the dream scenario? Obstacle, resources, and the most important maybe, what's the first step you need to take? So yeah, dream scenario, I want to build stronger relationship with that team over there in that department. This is the current situation. Okay, what is the strengths I can use? So that's how we have worked with this strength-based model, and it works great. So please try it and connect with us. We didn't mention that, Amanda, but we're not just in Swedish towns and suburbs. We're on LinkedIn. Connect with Carl Jacobson at Winning Temp or Amanda Sletten at Winning Temp. And if you try this, give us feedback. It would mean a lot to us. So that's with communication.
That was communication. And now we have the third one, learn and grow. And this is connecting to personal development and creating a culture of learning. And many talks about learning at the moment. And studies shows actually that companies that do offers comprehensive training programs, they can have up to 218% higher income per employee than companies without formalized training. What also is discussed quite much at the moment is the half time of knowledge. And new numbers shows that the half time is down to 5 years. So what does that mean? Well, it means that in 5 years, 50% of the knowledge that we possess today will be out of date. So that really shows that learning is something you should include in your day-to-day business to make sure that you are on top of things. And Carl, you have read a report from PwC with some insights connecting to learning as well.
I have, yes. So according to this, it's a 2023 report made by PwC. They asked 4,410, I think it was, CEOs from 105 countries in this world about the challenges going forward and what they see. And the message is quite clear: evolve or die. So 40% of these CEOs said that, or they thought their organizations would no longer be economically viable within 10 years if they continued with the current course of that organization. So it was quite clear that they need to learn, and they need to grow, and they need to adjust for the future. And why building a culture of learning? There is a lot of stats, but it's decreases stress levels. So it's not the opposite. I've talked to a lot of business leaders, CEOs, management teams that says that they need to find time and invest in other new areas. It does take time, but it does take away the level of stress. And you, of course, become more productive and successful because you do learn and you do develop as a human being and find solutions on solving problems in a new way. You're a bit more future-proofed. So most all employees want to be a bit more future-proof. They want to be a bit more ready to handle new additional responsibilities. And they want to feel safe, and they want to be happy. The school environment, they really try to succeed with this. And I'm going to share a personal, not a story, but just a fact. And I hope it's not coming from my genes, but one of my sons, he has a bit struggle with math at the moment. So he and the teacher talks about this, and he brings the math book home. So we try to help and coach him on evenings or weekends. And it's so clear when he succeeds with solving a problem or ticking off another side in that math book. You can see all this. It's a bit more, it's a relief. Yeah, it's not stressful to come back to school and feel that you're behind. You feel a bit more safe and future-proofed because I am ready. He is ready to go back to school. So find these things where you can relate to him in your workplace or in your life, and it's really clear when this works out.
Then something connecting to the how. So how to create a culture of learning. On the screen, you see make learning a habit. So what might that mean? Well, it means that learning should not only be on specific occasions, a course or seminar, it should also be a part of the day-to-day business, integrated in your daily work life. It's also about having the mindset that you can learn something new pretty much every day. And to guide yourself and employees when it comes to learning, you can ask questions to yourself, questions that can help you identify learning opportunities and make sure that you grab those opportunities. And one question is, what can I learn from this person or this experience? And that is a question that helps you focus on learning new content in specific context. Or a question might be, okay, what can I learn about this person? That is a question that helps you build deeper work relationships. Or if you have any new insights, you can ask yourself, what can I do with these insights? And that is a question that helps you and keeps you oriented towards achieving those learning goals that you might have. And one more thing connecting to learning is that it's important to take time for reflection. So actually set aside time where you reflect about what you have learned, the benefits of the new knowledge, and what value that new knowledge brings to you, both as a person and in work. And many says that when learning is a habit, you will enjoy your work tasks instead of just checking off the box. And now we have a poll actually connecting to learning.
We certainly do, yeah. Thanks for that, Amanda. So our next poll is live now, and we want to know, how do you work with learning in your organisation? Just 3 options for you to choose from there. Learning is not our focus at the moment. Learning happens a couple of times a year, or learning is a habit and we have a culture of learning. So we're getting a good few responses in already. Got about a dozen people so far. So fortunately, no one yet is saying that learning is not their focus, which is a positive sign. Around 60% of people are saying that learning happens a couple of times a year, and then around 40% are saying it's a habit and they have a culture of learning. So some positive signs there, I suppose. That is changing. The results are changing now. So more people are saying it's a habit. So it's roughly a 50-50 split between the responses, between a couple of times a year or it's a more regular habit.
That makes us happy to hear that it's a habit. Is it possible, Liam, if anyone wants to share any best practice from their organization connecting to learning, that they can post that in the Q&A so everyone can read and inspire each other? Of
course, yeah, absolutely. If anyone's got any personal anecdotes or stories of how that works in your organization, you can pop them in the Q&A function, and we'll publish that, and we'll hopefully address some of those towards the end of the session.
Please do, so we all can help and inspire each other.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all for answering the poll. And let's go to the 4th one. And this one is believe in your people, connecting to trust and psychological safety. Also things that are discussed quite much at the moment, I would say. So let's just first start with the definition of psychological safety by Amy Edmondson from 1999, that it's the belief that no one will be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes, and that the team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. And Amy Edmondson is the one that landed the concept of psychological safety. And she was doing some research for her PhD, where she wanted to study the relationship between error making and teamwork in hospitals. And she expected to find that more effective teams had fewer mistakes or reported fewer mistakes. But she found the opposite. The teams that reported the most errors were actually the teams that had best teamwork and were the most productive. So of course, this made her curious to know more, and she dug into her data and started to suspect that, okay, better teams might be more willing to report their mistakes and to learn from those mistakes because they feel safe doing so. And I believe she explains it quite well when she gives an example of the culture in a meeting and how you act when you are in a meeting with your team. And she says, is it a meeting where it's okay to ask questions? It's okay to talk about mistakes and learnings. It's okay to be honest. And you have fun in the meeting. You feel that I can be myself. I can ask whatever questions I might have. Then you have psychological safety in that team. But it might be a meeting where you sit quiet, you have questions, but you do not feel safe enough to ask those questions. Instead, you might think that, I shouldn't ask these questions. I will probably look stupid. So I will look up the answer for myself after the meeting. Well, here you do not have psychological safety. And I believe Amy Edmondson, she puts it so good when she says that every time someone in the team have a question that they do not ask, you miss a chance for learning. So that is why psychological safety and learning goes hand in hand. Then why, Carl?
Why, Amanda? Yes, why? And you mentioned it, so but let me just put it in some numbers and strengthen this. And as you see here, people are much more likely to leave organizations that don't keep their promises, either the manager or the management. So it's related to trust. You also saw it when you voted on the sort of impact on turnover. Trust was by far the number one factor. So pace in a changing environment, innovation, something that most of the world's CEOs also have seen, that they need to change, they need to learn new things, they need to be innovative in changing their business models. Quality, keeping people at work, increase profitability. I have been leading people the last 15 years, which means I've been able to do a lot of mistakes, but I have two things that I've tried to succeed with that I can really see making an impact on the trust in the teams or among the people I lead. One is to be open with both mistakes and ask for help, not being the person that sits with all the results and answers all the time. So can you lead by example here? I think it's a fantastic way to showing that we have a trustful and safe environment. And also another one, also written down in this project Amanda will mention about, but let everyone share their opinion. It's so easy to be a bit quick on asking a question and have the first one coming up, but just take that time as a manager, ask the question, but let everyone take just 1 minute to reflect. So they will either share it or at least in their head come up with a solution and talk about it 2 and 2, and so they have the possibility to share their thought, their experience. It's just really small things that makes a big impact.
And just to start every meeting with a check-in, so everyone can share 1 minute what their focus are for the following week, or any success story that as well contributes to building psychological safety. And that is so easy to implement in your meetings. We did share Amy Edmondson's study from 1999, but there of course are some newer studies, and we will present to you the one made by Google called Project Aristotle. And it's a tribute to his quote, "The whole is greater than the sum of its parts." And Google, they studied 180 teams during 2 years of time and wanted to answer the question, what makes a team effective at Google? After some time, the researchers did find that what mattered less was about who is on the team, and what actually mattered was how the team worked together. So in all their collected data from all these 180 teams for 2 years of time, they identified 5 factors that were essential to any high-performing team. And the most important factor, a factor that actually surprised the researchers, was psychological safety. So yes, this indicates that psychological safety is super important and something that highly affects engagement, productivity, teamwork, etc. But of course, you want to have fun at work, right, Carl?
You do, Amanda. You do, of course, in every relationship. As you're living a long life, you need to have fun. And that brings us to the 5th winning ways to be focusing on as a leader and in your culture of employee engagement. Make work fun. So make work fun. It's not, of course, just about the team building, going on and after work and strengthening relationship. It does matter though. It's quite clear that building strong relations and getting to know people, not just through the working project, but it does enable trust, as we spoke about before, and gives you the ability to share things in an open and honest way. But there are more things than just having fun at work. So giving people a possibility to succeed, delegate with clarity, and maybe very important, give people the I'm not sure if I pronounce prerequisite, I think the word is, to succeed. So one thing here, and hear me now, if you do a good job and you work for an organization that works, you will have more problems than you can solve, because the purpose of an organization is often to solve other people's problems. So if you do a good job, you get more problems to solve. So in your role, it's more problems than you can solve. You might have 5 problems, but you can always solve 3 of them. The problem is that we often aim to solve all of these 5 at once. And you can feel bad, and that might not be so fun. So coming back to this with making work fun, of course, enjoyment, having laugh, sharing fun things, but also give individuals at work the ability to succeed with what they are working with. So you're already into this data. It's quite clear that employees that feel they don't have fun at work are more likely to leave an organization. And I mentioned that you don't want to be in a relationship. If we're living 80 years, around 80 years in this on this planet, we spend a lot of time working. Of course, it needs to be dedicated to fun at work as well. People will stay longer. They will work better. They will become more productive. And it's quite clear when you look at these facts. On the how-to, I think we can move on to the next slide, and we have something to share here as well that we have worked with, and we call it praise, recognition, appreciation, praising others for behaviors or investments that you have seen them not just for results, but seeing people, and use a method. I guess you have a lot, but there is one that I have used, and Amanda, we have discussed it and shared it with a lot of customers. If you want to create a little bit of a better feedback culture, start with praising and use the what and why. It's a fantastic and very easy method. So what was it that person did, and why, the impact it had on me? Another thing with praise and showing recognition is that our research shows that people, individuals that give more praises or show appreciation to others more than the average person are feeling less stressed. I don't have the answer of why. I just have that finding here to share with you, but it's likely to believe that these people are having the ability or the time or maybe the judgment to stop for a second, take a breath, and see their colleagues' efforts and praise them for that. And we all know that when we were young, we wanted all these Christmas gifts or gifts at the birthdays or whatever. But now there's much more enjoyment to see others getting a gift, and it's the same with praising others. So ask yourself, when was the last time you gave someone of your colleague a structured appreciation or praise? And if you haven't done it for a while, please try and use the what and why method. You can Google it, it's easy. Amanda, that's the 5 winning ways.
That's the 5 winning ways. We have make work meaningful, communicate a lot, learn and grow, believe in your people, and make work fun. And now in relation to the win story that Carl told you in the beginning of the webinar, we have a final question for you. So, Liam.
We certainly do indeed, yeah. So the final poll of the session, we want to know what's important for your team or organisation right now. And it relates to those 5 options we saw on the screen there. So whether that's make work meaningful, communicating a lot, learning and growing, believe in your people, or make work fun. So got a few responses coming in so far. So far, unlike the other polls that we've run where the answer has been fairly straightforward, the responses on this are quite mixed so far, which I suppose is a positive thing. Around about a quarter of people are saying communicating a lot is the most important. Make work meaningful, again. Yeah, so the responses, it's almost of an even split, right? All the way down the center. So between 19 to 20% is the answers that are coming in on each option there. Like I said, these are in real time, so they're changing slightly, but yeah, it's fairly balanced. There isn't one answer that is running away with the choices on this so far, which I suppose is a fairly important thing if people consider all of those points fairly equally important to the organization.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Liam. And we didn't mention that, but we saw that of you participating here, it's companies with 10,000 plus employees globally, and there are 200 employee companies from specific countries in Europe. Most of you are sitting in UK. It's a big challenge, of course, but we would try to challenge you to maybe you already have this in your engagement strategy or in your people strategy. But please take a few of them with you. Ask your management team or the team you work close to the same question. What is the most important for us now? And what the KPI or what is it we want to achieve? What's the purpose of that? And start to implement small changes every day.
Then I believe it's time for some questions, if there are any questions, Liam.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, firstly, thank you to you both for that presentation. I thought that was really interesting, and all those sort of personal anecdotes thrown in throughout there. I always like that JFK one particularly. So yeah, we've got time now for any audience questions. So if anyone's got anything that they want to ask Amanda or Jacob, then Carl, sorry, then please do. In the meantime, we had a couple of people respond to the question that we put out earlier regarding any sort of personal examples of how learning is integrated. One of our audience members said that they have a mentorship program to influence that sort of that learning culture, which I suppose is always a good idea that organisations might want to look at imposing. Another commenter said that they look at the lessons learned after each project stage and the final delivery. So that's another interesting insight there into those. I don't know if either of you have any sort of insights on what you think of those suggestions so far.
We do have customers that have experienced the same. They start every sort of project closed with a lessons learned. What was the mistakes we did, and sharing that and learning from that, and then maybe go on to the sort of celebrations and successful achievements as well. But yeah, it sounds like a fantastic thing to do.
Excellent. What about mentorship programs as well? Do you find that those can be effective in sort of really improving that sort of learning culture? Yes, absolutely. We do it ourselves with new employees. We pair them up with others, and I think we've seen that with I mean, it's quite common. What I've heard and seen in some companies that it might be there, but you also need a follow up with everything you do. Follow up is key. Coming back, talk, reflect, adjust, and I think maybe that's an experience I see in our own company actually, that we can be better at helping that mentor to actually guide and not just give that mentor and that people that are the person that are mentored the time to sort of work, but also support them and follow up with them and evaluate that. Absolutely, yeah, making sure that arrangement is sort of mutually beneficial for everyone, I suppose. I had a couple of questions myself regarding some of the things that you've touched on in that webinar. So regarding those, the 5 success factors that you went through there, how important is the order in which you address those issues? Can you start anywhere, or would you recommend going, from stages 1 to 5 to really get that right?
I would say that you can start anywhere, so they're not in a specific order. Just focus on the one that is the most important for you and for your team and organization. Yeah, absolutely. Just so prioritize wherever you think the room for improvement is. Exactly. Excellent. And I think what we see in there also, Liam, is just to look at some things like direction, purpose of what we're doing, and usually you have that, but just ask your team or your company or organization, are we, or measure, or however you get that feedback. Make sure that people have clarity
the expectations are there. That's something we've seen, Amanda. Don't run away and do the things that maybe lies closest to your heart or enjoy you the most. Make sure that direction, clarity, vision, meaningfulness are there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. And so we've just addressed there that there's no issue in where to start and which stage to look at first. But is there any issue with tackling more than one of those problems at the same time, or would you recommend focusing on one area first and then moving on, or do you think HR can multitask and sort of improve on many bases at once?
Yes.
You take that one, Carl?
Yeah, I was waiting for you. But no, I mean, we have got this question from some of the companies that we work with that have implemented this. So there is a few different scenarios. Some examples is that an organization have chosen to work with one or maybe two, but we would say maybe maximum two at once, and decide for what do we want to achieve, where do we want to be, and so on, and address and have a focus on that. And other examples is where they have made management or managers in the organization choose one that matters most to you, and maybe bring it to the team as well. Ask your team members, what's the most important for us to succeed with the situation we have in our team at the moment, and let them focus on that during the next quarter or the next 6 months, or if it's a bigger time and project and organization, maybe a year.
And I would say it depends as well on what way you choose to focus on. If you, for instance, wants to build a culture of learning, then you need psychological safety. So some of the ways maybe you should work with two at the same time, and some of the ways you can work with one.
Excellent. Thank you all for those answers. And finally, what effects do you think you see with companies when they start using Winning Temp? Like how big of the impact do you see there when they're trying to address those issues?
We've actually done a study on companies that use Winning Temp, and we see an increase of job satisfaction. We see decrease of negative stress levels, and actually decrease of turnover, and of course an increase of engagement. So there are some positive things that can happen if you work with Winning Temp.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Amanda. Well, that gives us just a minute left or so in this session, so that's probably a good time to wrap up. Actually, I had one question come in from the audience that I'd missed. I do apologise. I can get to that quickly now. Someone asks, once you've chosen the area, so which of those 5 areas to work on, should you first work with the managers so that they can work with their direct reports, or should HR try to do it individually with everyone? So who should be addressing those issues first? What's the first step to take?
I think you have managers for a reason. So work through them, let them lead this. Needs to be them, but of course with HR support. If it's a bigger organization, you have BP supporting them, but maybe have the knowledge bank within HR be coaching and supportive to managers, but absolutely let them work with these areas.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Wonderful. Well, yeah, that leads us nicely to the end of our session there. So thank you everyone for attending. I hope you found that just as interesting as I did. Thank you again to everyone who got involved with the polls and submitted questions for Amanda and Cal there. Hopefully you will take a lot of things away from that. There's some further resources available on the page that you're on now. But again, thank you to Amanda and Carl for your time today. And thank you everyone for attending. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Bye.